We got a 2016 Ford Explorer. It's the EcoBoost 4-cylinder. We are going to be taking off the intake manifold. We have a fuel leak, but today the video is just going to be on how to replacing a fuel injector. And in order to do that, the intake manifold has to come off. So we'll start with the step-by-step and get to it. First step is just to disconnect the negative, turn on the battery. There we go. Next thing you can do is just loosen this clamp and move this hose aside here. There we go. Alright, next is this clip right here that holds this hose. Mine was kind of easy to, almost snapped off, but there, inside the intake there's a clip that you can basically push in and it'll pop right out, but for now mine just came all out like that. Alright, next we're going to disconnect this hose right here. It goes down over there. This guy right here. Pretty simple. On the back side of it, there are these two outside little ends of it. They just push in, and then you push that guy in, and then it's good to come on out just like that. I'm also going to do it on the bottom side down here. That will take this hose out of the way. Next we got this hose right here as well. Same thing. Next we're going to disconnect our purge valve. And then this other little EVAP hose in the bottom of this guy. So first what you can do is just disconnect the sensor. Same thing on this hose. Next you can remove this right here. And then get a deep 10mm to pop the purge valve bracket off, and then once we do that, we can just take the whole thing kind of out the assembly. There we go. And then next we have this other EVAP hose down here. Comes out the same exact way. Just pop out. Alright, and this guy can be taken off. Next are these little fuel clips that just pop up. There you go, you can slide them, kind of pop those guys up. Move this guy. Next, we can just move this weird intake manifold insulator out the way. Disconnect our map. Next we gotta disconnect our, we gotta pull off our drive belt. It's a 14mm tensioner. Rotate it counterclockwise. Pull the belt off. Next is just 210s to disconnect the belt tensioner. There we go. Now we can kind of pull this guy down. Like that. Next is just this brake booster hose right here. Just grab a pick, push it in, and kind of, not peel, but push down the sides. I'm trying not to stab the hose, but there we go. Come on, just like that. Now we get to remove the intake. It's 5 10mm bolts. So we'll start with one bolt here. So you can't just rip the intake off, but it's hard to see, but there is a clip right there on the throttle body that we got to take off before anything. So position the camera. It's just a pushing clip. There's just a side, grab the side each, squeeze and push it off. Alright, once you have that clip disconnected right off the throttle body like that, you can slowly lift the intake up and then disconnect the throttle body position sensor off of the throttle body. Alright, once you pop this red clip out, oh well, mine already came out, but once you pop the red clip out, then you just push down on the top of this black thing right here, and then it'll release and flip up, and you'll be good. Now, remove the intake manifold. So after taking off our little injector cover here, this is the problem that I'm having today. You see a lot of fuel coming out of this injector. More than likely a bad O-ring. We're going to pull it off and then see what's going on with it. First things first, get some tape or something to cover up those ports. Have them sit just like that. Next step, I forgot, would be to disconnect this intake duct right here. Next, we're just going to unbolt this. It's holding down our fuel rail here. It's a 13mm. Kind of move this harness out of the way a little bit, if possible. Actually, we'll just disconnect this real quick. I'm gonna get a 17mm. And a nice towel. I'm sure fuel might be spraying. We'll see. Also forgot to mention where there is not a bolt hole, where there's an empty bolt hole right there. That's an 8mm. That's also holding the fuel rail out. We have to take off as well. Alright, so my GoPro died on me, unfortunately, but ended up taking off these 10mm bolts, and would recommend getting an O-ring kit for it. But yeah, so here's the injector that failed here. You can see plastic piece broke off of it, and this O-ring looks like someone took a bite out of it. So that's the reason why I have a leak in fuel everywhere on that side. So we'll get that replacement, and then we'll put everything back together on it. Alright, so I just popped the new injector back in. These clips are a little tough if they don't just push in and pull out. What I did is I took the rail kind of out, and then you can use a pick and kind of get in there and pop it out. If you're just replacing the intake manifold, then this isn't for you, but if you're doing the injector, make sure that it's pushed in all the way evenly. Make sure it's this, you can feel it's in there, nice and cupped and sealed. That's the most important thing. Next would just be to get your sensors back on. I moved this guy out of the way. You can stay back in there in a second, and then we'll go ahead and get our rail back on. Before we get the intake back on, we're going to go ahead and swap out the gasket on it. Once you put the manifold on, we already know to put the throttle body hose back on and put everything else back on. And for the fuel injector, guys, don't forget to get the nut here and then the bolt down below. And then that's pretty much it. So thank you.